representation may not be 100% accurate.
At the beginning of life, there were several molecules. These molecules were attracted and repelled against each other, and these then came together to form the very first cell. And then inside this cell, the very first strands of DNA arose. This cell then reproduced, separating into two identical cells, which would eventually become every single living thing on Earth. It then took millions of years, but eventually the first plant life evolved.
Well, hey there, I'm the first plant.
About 550 million years ago, a branch of cells that had evolved into a pulp, a primitive filter feeder, evolved gill slits which were more efficient at streaming food particles from the water, and led to one evolutionary branch, the acorn worm. But we don't come from acorn worms. Another was one that swam freely in the larval stage, but as an adult was still firmly anchored to the ocean floor. Some became living hollow tubes, and others retained the larval form throughout the life cycle, and became free-swimming adults with something like a backbone, the first fish.
Did you know, hundreds of million years ago, I was just a blob of cells?
Quit your jibber jabber. You were just a blob of cells.
Did you know, hundreds of millions of years ago, I was just a blob of cells?
See what?
Did you know, hundreds of millions of years ago, I was just a blob of cells?
Hell no.
These fish then began to eat one another. Swim fast and you survived. If you had jaws to eat with, gills could be used to breathe oxygen in the water. During the summers, some swamps and lakes dried up, so some fish evolved a primitive lung to breathe air until the rains came. Meanwhile, their brains were getting bigger. If the rains never came, fish had to pull themselves along to the next swamp, and so one of the greatest adaptations ever arrived: legs, and with it, the era of the amphibians.
Jesus Christ, it's hot out here. I can't breathe.
Man, I wish I had legs.
Too late, guys. I'm already above them.
These amphibians reproduced, laying their eggs in the water where they were easily eaten. But then an amazing new invention came along, the hard-shelled egg, laid on the land where there were currently no predators, and with this came the period of the reptiles, where crocodiles and turtles came from.
I'm a reptile.
Some of the reptiles that hatched on the land never returned to the water. Some became the dinosaurs.
My precious.
Yeah, man, it's a dinosaur.
What do you call a dinosaur with one eye? Do you think he saw us?
Yep, I think he did.
One line of these dinosaurs developed feathers and wings, ideal for flights, and their descendants are still around today. They are the birds.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. See me floating through that open door. I believe I can fly.
The dinosaurs' evolutionary branch took them to be some of the largest flesh eaters ever to walk the land. But 65 million years ago, when everything was going just fine, they were mysteriously wiped out. Those that survived the meteorite evolved to become small, scurrying creatures that had their young growing inside the mother. As the dinosaurs were the main predators and were no longer around, many different life forms developed. The young were very immature at birth, like in the wombats, and had to learn everything from their mother, their brains growing larger still. Something like a shrew became the ancestor of all mammals. One lion took to the trees, developing dexterity, stereovision, and larger brains, and a curiosity about all that was around them. Some became baboons, but we don't come from baboons. Apes and humans have an ancient common ancestor, bone for bone, muscle for muscle, molecule for molecule. There are almost no important differences between apes and humans. During this evolutionary period, they developed hands, stood upright, and began to talk. Now we have reached the point in history where we are right now. But who is to say that in the future we may even evolve to be as superhuman as Superman?